Hello, my friends. Today I'm going to read to you A Grand Old Tree. Because what are we talking about right now at school? We're talking about trees. This is our new tree unit. So we're going to read this beautiful tree story. Look at this picture in the front. It looks like an autumn tree. Isn't that nice? With the wind blowing, the leaves blowing. It's a nice way to start the book. Once there was a grand old tree. What do you think grand means? What do you think grand means? Do you think this grand means this tree is big? Or does it mean this tree is small? What do you think? Her roots sank deep into the earth. Her arms reached high into the sky. So there are her roots, deep, deep in the dirt. Her roots are underneath her trunk, right? We know trunk, we know branches, and we know leaves. Now we know roots. And there are her branches reaching high, high into the air. Can you reach your branches high, high into the air? Just like we've been doing at school, reach both hands up. She was home to many creatures. Birds nested among her branches, squirrels scurried through her leaves, caterpillars and ladybugs crawled about. Look at all those animals living in a tree. Squirrels and birds, chipmunks. And we were looking at a book yesterday where we could, not yesterday, silly. We were looking at a book last week where there was one animal that was in the tree through the whole book. And he was right in the middle watching everybody. Do you remember what that animal was? Think about it. Tell your grown-up what animal was in that tree. I'll remind you at the end of the story. The grand old tree flowered. So look, the tree's growing flowers. There's a close-up picture of a flower and some ladybugs. And bore fruit. Ooh, that looks yummy. I wonder what kind of fruit that is. My first thought was apples, but then when you get really close, it almost looks like it has really long stems. So maybe a cherry tree. Or maybe it's just an imaginary tree with imaginary fruit. And sowed seeds. She had many children. Do you remember we talked about acorns are like seeds from a tree? And what do seeds grow? A tree seed will grow a new tree. So it says she had many children. So she's like a mom. And she released all kinds of seeds that can be planted in the ground and grow new trees. They changed the landscape for miles around, perhaps even farther than the old tree knew. So you can see this bird right here has one of the pieces of fruit from her tree. You can't really tell, but I don't want to get so close that it's blurry. But in that piece of fruit, there's seeds. So maybe that bird is helping to spread the seeds. So it could spread her seeds far away. The grand old tree lived a long, long time. She basked in the sun, she bathed in the rain, she swayed in the breeze, and she danced in the wind. And she grew and she shed, I love this picture, all the different stages of the tree's life from when it was a baby. To the autumn trees, the spring trees, the winter trees. So many beautiful tree pictures. Aren't they beautiful? Many millions of leaves. At last, the grand old tree was very, very old. Her branches no longer swayed and danced, but cracked and snapped in the wind. Just an old, old tree. Finally, she fell, and the snow gently covered her. So now that she's fallen down, it's what you call a log. She's turned into a log. A log is a broken tree that lays on the ground, And this piece here, what's left of her trunk, that's now a stump. We can talk more about that. The old tree had died. She no longer flowered and bore fruit or sowed seeds. So now that she is a log and a stump, the tree's dead, and it's not going to grow any new leaves. It's not going to grow any new fruit. But it still has uses. But she still was home to many creatures. Raccoons nested in her trunk. Centipedes crawled along her branches, and lichen grew on her bark. So see, she's not growing leaves or fruit anymore, but she's still a home to lots of animals. So she still has a purpose, right? Isn't that beautiful? The grand old tree slowly crumbled. She became part of the earth. Today, the roots of her grandchildren seek deep into this earth, and their arms reach high into the sky. And they are also home to many creatures. Look at all those creatures. The squirrels, the birds, an owl. That's the answer to the question I asked you earlier about the animal that was in the tree of the book we read last week. It was an owl. Just like the grand old tree. So there's a new tree growing. You can see a little baby tree, a little sprout. So that was The Grand Old Tree by Mary Newell de Palma. Any guesses what grand might mean? In this story, I'm pretty sure we can say that grand means she was a big tree, not a little tree, right? A nice, grand, big, beautiful tree. I hope you liked this story. I'll see you next time. Bye, friends.